Adam stared out of the spaceship window, watching the distant planet grow larger in the view. He had been to many planets, seen many different cultures, but this one was different. This planet, Vara, was known for its cruel rulers, the Zerothians. They enslaved other species, using them for labor and fighting in gladiator-style arenas. The planet was a dark place, filled with suffering, but Adam had a mission here. And it wasn't to just stand by and watch as part of a special operation. Adam and his team were sent to gather intel on the Zerothian Empire, but Adam's mind wasn't on the mission. His thoughts kept drifting to the image of a woman, Lyra, a woman he had never met, but whose face haunted his dreams. I'd heard about her in a report. She was one of the slaves who had been captured by the Zerothians, but she was no ordinary slave. Lyra was rumored to have a power that could destroy the Zerothian Empire if it was awakened. Adam didn't believe in such things. He was a soldier, a man of action, not one for myths or prophecies. But there was something about Lyra that made him want to help her. Maybe it was the idea of someone so strong being forced into chains. Maybe it was the way her name felt like a call to him. He didn't know, but he had to see for himself. The ship touched down on the surface of Vara, and Adam's heart pounded in his chest. The Zerothians ruled this place with an iron fist, and the planet was a battlefield. The sky was always overcast, and the ground was scarred from years of war. The buildings were tall and dark, covered in strange markings, and the air smelled of smoke. It was the kind of place that made you feel like there was no hope left. Adam and his team moved swiftly through the streets, blending in with the local population. They had to be careful. The Zerothians knew humans were on the planet. The mission would be over before it even started. They kept their heads down, moving in silence, until they reached the edge of the city. There, hidden behind a large compound, was where they had been told to find her Lyra. The compound was heavily guarded. Adam knew they couldn't just walk in. They would have to wait for the right moment. He didn't like waiting. It wasn't in his nature, but this was different. He had to make sure that when the time came, he would be ready. Hours passed before. The guards shifted, and Adam saw his chance. Signaled to his team, and they made their move. They snuck through the shadows, staying low until they were standing outside the walls of the compound. Inside, the sound of the Zerothian guards echoed, but Adam's focus was on one thing: finding Lyra. They made their way to the holding cells, where slaves were kept. The moment Adam stepped inside, he could feel the weight of the oppression. The air was thick with fear and despair. The slaves here were treated like animals, shackled and forced to work in terrible conditions. It sickened Adam to his core then. He saw her. She was sitting in a corner, her head bowed, her hands bound in chains. Lyra, her long dark hair fell around her shoulders. And despite the chains, she held herself with a quiet strength. Adam had heard stories about her, but nothing prepared him for the fire in her eyes. There was a fierceness there, a determination that couldn't be broken. Even in chains, she was a force to be reckoned with. Adam moved toward her, but his steps were slow. He didn't want to startle her. He crouched in front of her, looking into her eyes. "Are you Lyra?" he asked softly. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she studied him, her gaze unwavering. "You're human," she said, her voice low but strong. "What are you doing here?" Adam hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I'm here to free you." Lyra let out a bitter laugh. "Free me? You can't even free yourself?" She glanced at the chains around her wrists. "No one can." Adam's heart tightened. He had seen the cruelty of the Zerothians before, but seeing it firsthand was different. He could feel the weight of her words, the hopelessness that had taken root in her. He knew this wouldn't be easy, but he wasn't backing down. He reached for the chains, his fingers brushing against the cold metal. "I'm not here to just talk, I'm here to get you out." Lyra's eyes softened slightly, but she still didn't believe him. "Why?" she asked. "Why do you care?" "I'm just another slave. Another person for you to save? It's not worth it." Adam's gaze locked onto hers, and for a moment he saw something in her, a flicker of hope. Because no one deserves to live like this. Not you, not anyone. Lyra's eyes flickered with doubt, but she didn't pull away. Instead, She seemed to study him as if she was trying to understand his sincerity. She let him work on the chains, her hands remaining still. As he worked, she finally spoke again. "There is a prophecy," she said softly. "A human will come. He will break the chains and lead us to freedom." Adam paused. "You believe?" "That I didn't," she replied, her voice tinged with sadness. "But after everything, maybe I was wrong." Adam finally broke the chains. They fell to the floor with a loud clang, and Lyra stood up slowly, stretching her arms. The weight of the chains was gone, but the pain of years in captivity would take longer to heal. Adam stood back and watched her, his mind racing. He had promised to free her, but he didn't know what to do next. The mission wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Then, without warning, Zorathian guards stormed into the room, weapons raised. Before Adam could react, Lyra stepped forward. The fire in her eyes was back, but it was different now. She wasn't just a prisoner, she was ready to fight. But the guards were too many. Lyra's last words to Adam were, "Go. You can still change things. Don't let this be for nothing." Adam didn't have a choice. He fought his way out, but Lyra didn't make it. Adam stood on the battlefield, his hands still gripping his weapon as the last Zorothian guard fell to the ground. The battle was over, but the victory felt hollow. His mind was elsewhere on Lyra. She was gone. The chains that had held her were shattered, but at what cost? He had promised her freedom, yet he hadn't been able to keep her alive long enough to see it. The fire that had burned in her eyes, the strength in her voice, he would never forget it. But the loss weighed heavily. On him, every battle, every victory seemed pointless now. His purpose was no longer just to win wars. It was to finish what he had started to keep her promise to her. But how could he? Adam returned to Earth, a place that now felt alien to him. It had been weeks since the mission, and the grief still gnawed at him. He tried to focus on the tasks ahead. There were talks about the Zorothians expanding their empire further into the galaxy. The council had gathered, and plans were being made for the next move. Yet all Adam could think about was Lyra. He couldn't just forget her. He couldn't let her death be in vain. The prophecy she had spoken of about the human who would come to free her still echoed in his mind. She had said there was a reason. He was the one to help her. But it didn't make sense. Why had he failed her? Weeks passed, and the war against the Zorathians continued. Adam threw himself into his work, leading missions and training soldiers. But inside he felt empty. Each victory only deepened his sense of loss. He became distant from his comrades. Lost in his thoughts, he began to question everything. Was there more to Lyra's words? Was there a way he could still fulfill her prophecy? One night, as Adam sat alone in his quarters, he found himself staring at a map of the galaxy. He traced his finger across the paths the Zorathians had taken, marking their most recent conquests. He knew what he had to do. There was still time. The empire was vast, but it wasn't invincible. He could still strike at their heart, tear down the power that had enslaved Lyra and many others like her. The thought of facing the Zorathian Empire again filled him with anger. But this time, it was different. It wasn't just about defeating them. It was about something more personal. It was about redemption. The next morning, Adam gathered a group of soldiers, each one as dedicated as him. Each one ready for whatever came next. They were going back to Vara, the planet where Lyra had died. They would strike at the Zorothian heart, bring their empire to its knees, and free the enslaved people, just as he had promised her. But as the team prepped for the mission, Adam felt a cold wave of doubt. He didn't have a plan. Even know if he could succeed. What had he learned since Lyra's death? He had lost her once, and the thought of failing her again made his stomach churn. Do you think we're doing the right thing? Adam asked his closest ally, Jake, as they worked on the ship together. Jake, a seasoned soldier, looked up from the equipment he was checking. I don't know, Adam, but I do know that if we don't try, we'll never know. That was the thing. About Adam, he never gave up. Maybe that was the only reason he had made it this far. They arrived at Vara days later. The planet's surface even darker than he remembered. The city was as intimidating as ever, but Adam could see the cracks. In the Zorothian Empire, The people here were tired of living in fear. The rebellion was growing. Adam's team had become part of it. The mission was simple: infiltrate the Zerothian stronghold, gather intelligence, and find a way to strike at the heart of their empire. Adam's team was ready, but the deeper they went into the city, the more they felt the weight of what had happened here. Lyra's death still hung over them all like a dark cloud. Every turn they took reminded Adam of what had been lost. As they moved through the streets, Adam caught sight of something that made his heart skip: a symbol on a wall, the same symbol that had been on the chains Lyra had worn. It was faint, but it was there. His hand reached out to touch it, a connection forming between him and the woman he had promised to save. "Adam." Jake called from behind him, "You okay?" He didn't respond right away, his eyes fixed on the symbol. Lyra had left a mark on this place, he thought. Even in death, she was here. And somehow that gave him the strength to keep going. As the team made their way closer to the Zerothian stronghold, Adam's thoughts returned to the prophecy Lyra had spoken of. A human would come to free her. He hadn't understood it then, but now he realized it wasn't just about freeing one person. It was about freeing an entire galaxy. The Zerothians had enslaved countless beings, and Adam had to stop them all. He had to lead the charge, not just for Lyra, but for every person the Zerothians had crushed under their boot. The rebellion had already begun, but it needed a spark, and Adam was ready to light it. As they reached the stronghold's entrance, Adam felt a fire burn within him, the fire in his eyes. He was ready. There was no turning back now. He had made a promise to Lyra, and he would keep it, but in the quiet. Before the storm, a thought crossed his mind. What if he failed again? What if he couldn't save them? He shook the thought away. He wouldn't fail. Not this time. The mission was set in motion, and Adam was determined to end this war once and for all. Adam stood at the edge of the cliff, gazing out over the dark city below. The air was thick with tension, as if the planet itself knew what was coming. He had returned to Vara, but this time, it wasn't a mission to gather information. It was a mission to bring down the Zerothian Empire. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. The weight of his promise to Lyra pressed down on him, but this time, he wasn't alone. His team had grown. They were all here for the same reason: to destroy the empire that had enslaved and killed innocent people. The Zerothians had wiped out entire civilizations, but Adam was determined to make sure they didn't get away with it. He wasn't just fighting for the people of Vara anymore. He was fighting for all the enslaved worlds. "Lyra, are we ready?" Jake asked, his voice steady as he joined Adam at the cliff's edge. Adam turned to face him, his eyes hard. "We have to be. There's no turning back now." The plan was simple: infiltrate the Zerothian stronghold, find the heart of their power, and destroy it. The Zerothians had become complacent, their arrogance blinding them to the growing resistance. Adam knew this was their best chance. But as they made their way into the heart of the city, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The streets were quiet, too quiet. The usual hustle and bustle of the city had faded, replaced by an eerie stillness. Adam motioned for his team to stay alert. They moved cautiously, keeping to the shadows. But it was clear that the Zerothians were waiting for them. "Something's off," Jake whispered, his eyes scanning the streets. "They know we're here." Adam nodded, feeling the weight of the silence around them. The Zerothians weren't known for being subtle, so the quiet was unnerving. He had to trust his instincts. "We keep moving forward. Stay close." Team advanced, their steps quick but careful. As they neared the stronghold, Adam's heart began to race. This was the moment. They had trained for this, prepared for everything the Zerothians could throw at them. But still, he couldn't shake the fear gnawing at the back of his mind. Fear of failure. Fear of losing more people. Fear of not being able to keep his promise. But Lyra's words echoed in his mind, giving him strength. "There is a prophecy. A human will come. He will break the chains and lead us to freedom." Adam didn't believe in prophecies, but he did believe in the power of determination. He had to finish what he started. As they reached the gates of the stronghold, the silence was shattered by the sound of heavy footsteps. Zorathian guards appeared out of nowhere, surrounding them in seconds. Adam's pulse quickened, but he didn't flinch. He had faced worse odds before. "Stay calm," he said quietly to his team. "We fight our way through." The battle began with a sudden roar, and the air was filled with the sound of blaster fire and the clash of metal. Adam and his team fought fiercely, pushing forward despite the overwhelming numbers. His mind raced as he moved, calculating every step, every move. The Zorathians weren't as strong as they thought. They were arrogant, and that arrogance was their weakness. But just as Adam thought they were gaining ground, something unexpected happened. A loud crash echoed through the stronghold, and the ground shook beneath them. A massive door, once thought impenetrable, slammed open, and then Adam saw it. Standing in the doorway was Nataru, the leader of the Zorathians. His large frame loomed over them, his dark eyes burning with malice. Adam had heard of Nataru, the ruthless leader who had crushed countless worlds beneath his boot. But seeing him in person made Adam's blood run cold. "You've come to die, human," Nataru sneered, his voice deep and mocking. "You and your little rebellion." Adam stepped forward, his hands steady despite the chaos around him. "Not today, Nataru. This is where it ends." Nataru's laughter echoed through the stronghold. "You think you can stop me? You think you can destroy what we've built? You're nothing." Adam's eyes narrowed. It wasn't going to let this monster stand in his way. "I'm not here to destroy your empire. I'm here to end it." With a roar, Nataru charged forward, his massive form crashing into Adam with the force of a hurricane. The ground beneath them cracked, and Adam was sent flying backward, but he quickly regained his footing. Nataru wasn't going to go down easy, but neither was Adam. The two clashed in a flurry of strikes, each one powerful enough to shake the foundations of the stronghold. Nataru's brute strength was terrifying, but Adam had something Nataru didn't: a purpose. "You killed her," Adam gritted, through clenched teeth as he narrowly dodged a vicious blow. "You killed Lyra, and I'm going to make you pay for it." Nataru sneered again, his eyes flashing with contempt. "Lyra? She was weak? Just another slave? You're nothing but a fool to mourn her?" Adam's anger surged, his hands wrapped tightly around his weapon as he pushed forward with a renewed fury. He wasn't going to let Nataru get away with this. Lyra's death wouldn't be forgotten. Not now, not ever. The battle raged on, but Adam's focus remained unshaken. His eyes never left Nataru, and with every strike, he pushed closer to his goal: to break the chains, to bring an end to the Zorathian Empire, and to honor the memory of the woman who had shown him what true strength looked like. Nataru was strong, but Adam was driven by something deeper than any weapon or power. It was the fire in his eyes, the fire that would see the Zorathian Empire burn to the ground. The fight with Nataru felt endless. Every blow from the Zorathian leader hit like a hammer, each strike shaking Adam to his core. He had faced battles before, but nothing had felt as personal as this. The memories of Lyra, the promise he made to her, and the fire in her eyes before her death pushed him forward. He couldn't stop now. Not after everything. Nataru was relentless, his massive frame moving with a surprising speed for someone of his size. Adam's body ached, his muscles burned, but he refused to give up. This battle wasn't just about survival. It was about justice. For Lyra, for every person who had suffered under the Zorathian rule. With a growl, Nataru swung his massive sword, aiming straight for Adam's head. Adam barely managed to roll to the side, the blade slicing through the air just above him. Didn't have much time. Nataru was too strong, too fast, and Adam's energy was fading, but he had one last trick up his sleeve. "Jake, now?" Adam shouted, hoping his team was ready. From the shadows, Jake emerged with a small device in his hand. Something they had developed for this moment, a small explosive designed to disrupt the Zorathians' advanced shielding. Adam had known it would be their only shot to defeat Nataru. As Jake activated the device, a loud humming noise filled the air, followed by a powerful pulse that seemed to reverberate through the entire stronghold. Nataru froze. His armor sparked, and the shield protecting him flickered. The opening was small, but it was enough. Adam saw his chance. With all his strength, Adam lunged forward, driving his blade into Nataru's side. The Zorathian leader let out a roar of pain, staggering backward. Adam twisted the blade, pushing it deeper. Taru's grip on his sword loosened as the life drained from his body. The Zorathian leader fell to his knees, his blood pooling around him. Adam stood over him, breathing heavily, his chest rising and falling in exhaustion. He had won, but the victory didn't feel as sweet as he had imagined. Nataru's eyes, filled with hatred and defiance, locked onto Adam. "You think this changes anything?" he rasped, his voice weak but filled with venom. "You've killed me, but the Empire's too strong. You can't stop it. You'll never be able to. Before he could finish, Adam twisted the blade once more, silencing the Zorathian forever. The room was silent. Adam stood there for a long moment, the weight of the victory sinking in. He had killed the man responsible for Lyra's death, but it didn't bring her back. It didn't erase the pain he had felt when he saw her die. The rage inside him was still there, but it felt hollow. What now? What had they really accomplished? Stepped forward, his face tense with both relief and sadness. "It's done," he said quietly. Adam nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. There was still work to be done. The Zorothian Empire wasn't just Nataru. It was a system, a whole way of life that needed to be destroyed. Adam was the one who had to do it. He turned to his team. "We've won the battle, but the war is far from over. The Zorathians are strong, and they won't stop just because we've killed their leader. We need to act fast." Jake nodded. "What's the plan?" Adam paused, looking down at the fallen leader's body. "We take out their power. We cripple their empire. We'll strike at the heart of their government, their military, their resources. This is just the beginning." The team set to work, using the intel they had gathered to disable the Zorathian communications, power grids, and military bases. The fight wasn't over, but for the first time, Adam felt like they had a chance. A real chance to bring down the Empire and free the slaves. To make sure Lyra's death meant something. But as they moved deeper into the heart of the stronghold, something strange happened. Adam felt a sudden surge of energy. It was as if the planet itself was responding to their actions. The ground beneath him trembled, and the air grew thick with a strange, unfamiliar force. It was a hum, low and vibrating, almost like a heartbeat. "What is that?" Jake asked, his voice laced with confusion. Adam's eyes narrowed. "No, but we need to find out." They followed the hum, moving through dark, winding corridors until they reached a massive chamber. Inside, a large crystal pulsed with a strange light. It was the source of the vibration. Adam could feel its power, and for a moment, he thought he saw something flicker within it, a face. It was Lyra. His heart skipped a beat, but the image disappeared. As quickly as it came, replaced by a surge of energy that knocked Adam off his feet. He landed hard on the ground, struggling to breathe as the power in the room seemed to increase. Then he understood. This crystal wasn't just a power source. It was something more, something ancient. The Zorathians hadn't just conquered worlds, they had harnessed the energy of the galaxy itself. "This is it," Adam whispered, realization dawning on him. This is what they were protecting. Crystal was the key. The Zorathians had used it to control everything. The war, the suffering, the oppression, it all stemmed from this. Adam reached for the crystal, his fingers trembling. He had to destroy it. This was the heart of the Empire, and if he could destroy it, the entire system would collapse.
Ow.
But as his hand touched the surface, a voice echoed in his mind. "You are not alone, Adam. I am with you." Lyra's voice, Adam's eyes widened. The power inside the crystal wasn't just Zorathian, it was something else, something ancient, something alive. It was the key to the prophecy. Lyra had known this. She had known all along. The crystal glowed brighter, and Adam knew what he had to do. This was the moment. This was the beginning of the end. With a final breath, he pressed his hand against the crystal, unleashing the power within. The ground trembled beneath him and the whole world seemed to shake. The Zorothian Empire was about to fall. The moment Adam touched the crystal, everything changed. The ground beneath his feet rumbled as if the planet itself was waking up. The strange hum that had filled the air now grew louder, vibrating through his bones. It wasn't just the crystal that was reacting. It was something much deeper, something ancient, something powerful. Adam stepped back, his heart racing. He could feel the energy coursing through him, the power of the crystal threatening to consume him. His mind flashed back to the first time he had met Lyra, to the fire in her eyes, to the promise he had made. This was at the moment he had been waiting for. He had to destroy the crystal, to destroy the very heart of the Zorothian Empire. But how? It's too dangerous, Jake said, his voice trembling as he joined Adam by the crystal. We don't know what this is. It could destroy the entire planet. Adam's eyes were fixed on the crystal, his mind focused on the task ahead. It already is, he replied quietly. The Zorothians have been using this to control everything. If we don't stop it, the galaxy will keep suffering. Jake hesitated, looking from the crystal to Adam. He understood. They both knew the stakes. The crystal wasn't just a power source. It was the foundation of everything the Zorothians had built. It controlled their armies, their technology, their very empire. If they destroyed it, the empire would fall. But so much could go wrong. Adam could feel the weight of that risk pressing down on him. We don't have time to second guess, Adam said. This is our only shot. With a deep breath, he reached for the crystal again. This time, the energy was stronger, more intense. The crystal pulsed beneath his fingers, its glow blinding. As he touched it, a vision exploded in his mind. Lyra, her face was clear now, as if she was standing right before him. She smiled at him, her eyes filled with warmth and strength. You've come so far, Adam, she said softly. You can do this. Don't let fear control you. The vision faded as quickly as it had come, leaving Adam with a renewed sense of purpose. He wasn't alone. He never had been. Lyra had always been with him, even in death. Her strength was inside him, and now it was time to finish what they had started. With a fierce determination, Adam placed both hands on the crystal. He could feel its energy trying to fight him, pushing against his grip, but he didn't let go. He had to break it, to stop the Zorothian Empire from ever causing more pain. The fire in his eyes flared, burning brighter with every passing second. He pressed harder, focusing all his energy into the crystal. The planet trembled again, and for a moment, Adam feared it might break apart. But he pushed forward, knowing he had no other choice. Suddenly, a voice echoed in his mind. It was the Zorothian Emperor. You are a fool, human, the voice boomed. This power is beyond your understanding. You cannot defeat me. You cannot destroy what I have created. Adam's teeth clenched. The voice was full of arrogance, full of the same confidence that had led the Zorothians to conquer and enslave. But Adam was done with fear. He had lost too much to let it control him now. Lyra had believed in him, and he believed in her. This isn't about you, Adam whispered, his voice steady. It's about every world you've destroyed, every person you've enslaved. This ends now. With one final push, Adam unleashed everything he had. The crystal cracked, the energy inside it reaching a boiling point. A bright flash filled the room, and for a moment, everything went white. When the light finally faded, Adam found himself kneeling on the ground, gasping for breath. The crystal was shattered, its power now gone. The ground beneath him had stopped. Trembling, the hum had ceased, and the air felt still. But there was no victory in his chest, only emptiness. Jake helped him to his feet, his face a mix of relief and confusion. Did we do it? Is it over? Adam looked around, his mind still reeling from the intense energy he had just experienced. The room was silent, the darkness that had filled it, now gone. He felt it in his bones. The Zorothian Empire was falling, but it wasn't just the crystal that had caused their downfall. It had been the rebellion, the strength of those who refused to submit, those who had fought for freedom. Not yet, Adam said, shaking his head. But we've given them a chance. The empire is done. The people will rise. We just need the strength to fight. They made their way out of the chamber, leaving the shattered crystal behind them. As they stepped into the open, the full extent of the destruction became clear. The once mighty Zerothian stronghold was now nothing more than a crumbling ruin. The once unstoppable empire was now on its knees, its power broken. Adam's mind raced with the possibilities. The Zerothians would fight back, of course, but they had no more power to wield. Without the crystal, without the foundation that had held them together, they were just another enemy in the galaxy, no longer a threat to be feared. He could hear the distant sounds of the rebellion growing louder as they moved through the streets. The cries of the oppressed rising in unison. It was the sound of victory, of freedom, finally taking root. But Adam knew this was just the beginning. The war wasn't over. The Zerothians may have lost their strength, but there would be others who tried to fill the void. Adam had something the Zerothians never had: hope. And with that hope, he would lead humanity and the other freed worlds into a new era. As they stood on the steps of the crumbling stronghold, Adam looked out at the horizon, the first rays of sunlight breaking through the dark clouds. He had come here for revenge, but he had found something far more powerful: a future, and it was a future worth fighting for. The days after the destruction of the Zerothian stronghold felt like a blur. The rebellion was in full swing. News of the Zerothian Empire's fall spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The slaves had risen, the oppressed had found their voice, and the once mighty empire was crumbling to dust. But Adam couldn't relax. His mind was still racing, his thoughts still consumed with everything that had happened. The mission had been a success. Yes, but it wasn't over yet. The Zerothians might have lost their crystal, their source of power, but that didn't mean they were gone. They were scattered, desperate, and angry. And the galaxy wasn't going to heal overnight. Adam's first priority was the people, ones who had suffered the most. He knew the Zerothians had left a legacy of pain, a wound that would take years to heal. But he wasn't going to let it fester. He was going to help them rebuild. His team stayed by his side, working with the freed. Slaves to organize, to create something better. They provided food, medical supplies, and shelter for those who had been left with nothing. The galaxy had been broken, but now there was a chance to fix it. They were creating a new world, one where no one would ever have to wear chains again. Adam walked through the camp, his boots kicking up the dirt beneath him. His mind kept drifting back to Lyra. She had been right all along. It wasn't just about freeing Hurt, it was about freeing everyone. The prophecy she had spoken of had been true in a way. A human had come, and that human had helped break the chains of an entire galaxy. But even with all the victories, Adam still felt the weight of Lyra's loss. Every victory felt bittersweet. Every celebration was a reminder of what he had lost. The promise he had made to her to finish what they started had been fulfilled. But it didn't feel like enough. He stopped by a small group of freed slaves who were gathered around a fire. They looked up at him as he approached, their faces filled with a mixture of awe and gratitude. Adam gave them a small nod, and they all stood, bowing their heads in respect. "You've done more than anyone could have imagined." One of the women said, her voice filled with emotion. She was an older woman, her hands rough from years of labor. "You've set us free. We'll never forget what you did for us." Adam smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I didn't do it alone," he replied quietly. "We did it together, all of us." He turned to leave, but the woman stopped. "There's something else," she said. "Before you leave, there's someone who wants to see you." Adam's brow furrowed in confusion. "Who?" The woman gestured toward a small hut at the edge of the camp. "She's been asking for you, ever since you destroyed the crystal." Adam felt a strange tug in his chest. "Who is she?" "Know when you see her." Curious, Adam walked toward the hut. He had no idea who could be waiting for him. But when he reached the doorway and stepped inside, he froze. Standing before him was Lyra. At first, Adam thought his mind was playing tricks on him, but there she was, standing tall and strong, her eyes meeting his. She was wearing the same clothes she had worn when they first met, the simple tunic that had become so familiar to him. But now she was different. She was whole, free, and somehow she was glowing with a soft, radiant light. Lyra? Adam whispered, his voice trembling. Is it really you? Lyra smiled. It wasn't the sad smile he had seen before, the one full of pain. This time, it was full of hope. It's really me, she said softly. But you how? Adam asked. Struggling to find the right words, you ... you died. I saw you. I did, she said, her voice calm. But I wasn't truly gone. The power inside the crystallit wasn't just Zorathian. It was something ancient, something that connected us all. When you destroyed the crystal, you freed not just the slaves, but me too. Adam's heart raced. Didn't make sense. But ... you were dead. I saw you die. Lyra stepped closer to him, her eyes filled with understanding. Death isn't the end, Adam. It's just a transition. When you broke the crystal, you unlocked something in me. I wasn't really gone. I was waiting for the right moment to return. Adam reached out to touch her arm, still in disbelief. I promised I would free you, but I didn't think this was possible. Neither did I, Lyra said with a soft laugh. But now we can make sure no one ever wears chains again. Not in this galaxy. Not ever. Adam stared at her, overwhelmed. By the emotions swirling inside him, he had lost her once, but now she was here. And together, they had done what seemed impossible. They had broken the chains. The prophecy, Adam whispered, almost to himself. You were right. I didn't understand it at first, but you were right. Lyra nodded. It wasn't just about me. It was about all of us. It was always about the power of hope, of unity. You showed the galaxy that. Adam smiled for the first time in what felt like forever. I couldn't have done it without you. Lyra's smile softened. We did it together. And now the galaxy is free. As Adam looked at her, he realized that everything had changed. The war, the battles, the pain, it was all in the past now. The future was full of possibilities. The chains that had bound so many were broken, and the galaxy, once dark and broken, was beginning to heal. Let's rebuild, Adam said, his voice steady and full of hope. Future they deserve. Lyra's eyes sparkled with the same fire that had first drawn him to her. Together, she said, we'll build it together. As the sun set behind them, Adam and Lyra stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next. The chains were broken. Now it was time to rebuild the galaxy, one step at a time.